Imagine working tirelessly for decades, only to realize that no matter how much you earn, you'll never truly get ahead. Your salary, the very thing you've been told is your ticket to security, is quietly, relentlessly designed to fall short. It's not your fault. It's the system. And it's more unforgiving than most of us realize. Most people measure financial success by how much they earn each month. A bigger paycheck, a promotion, a fancy title. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Earning more doesn't automatically mean building wealth. In fact, for the vast majority, it guarantees only one thing: more consumption, more tax, and a life where financial freedom remains elusive. Consider the simplest math. You earn $50,000 a year. It feels like a lot until taxes and living expenses devour it. Rent, groceries, utilities, insurance. By the time you've covered basic costs, a large chunk of your hard-earned income is gone. You're left with a fraction that can even be saved. And what happens if you earn $100,000? The system doesn't pause. Taxes climb. Lifestyle creep accelerates. That larger paycheck quickly evaporates into slightly bigger bills, slightly nicer cars, slightly larger apartments. You're earning more, yet the game hasn't changed. But it's deeper than math. There's a structural trap built into the modern economy. Salaries are capped by employers, limited by industries, constrained by what the system deems normal. Meanwhile, the cost of living, housing, healthcare, education rises faster than wages in most regions. This isn't coincidence. It's the quiet march of inflation paired with a culture that normalizes debt. People borrow to bridge the gap between earnings and expenses, creating an illusion of prosperity, while slowly sinking under obligations they rarely control. Here's another twist. Wealth isn't created by labor alone. It's created by ownership. Stocks, real estate, businesses, and other assets generate money without demanding your constant time. Salaries, by contrast, demand every minute you have. You trade hours for hours, and hours are finite. There's only so much time in a lifetime. No amount of overtime or promotions can overcome that limitation. Now think about incentives. Employers want productivity, not wealth creation for employees. Banks want debt to be serviced, not erased. Governments rely on taxable income, not on people escaping work entirely. Every system surrounding you, the paycheck, the credit card, the mortgage, is designed to extract, not to elevate. It's subtle, invisible, but incredibly effective. And yet, we keep chasing raises. We chase bonuses. We chase the dream that more salary equals more security. Every step feels like progress, but the finish line keeps moving farther away. It's not luck, nor laziness, nor a failure of ambition. It's a structural reality most never see until decades have passed. The question becomes, if working for money alone won't make you rich, then how do the wealthy really build wealth? And why does the system let some escape while most remain trapped? Let's peel back the curtain. To understand why your salary will never make you rich, you need to see the invisible gears of the financial system. Most people never notice these gears because they're hidden in plain sight, disguised as normal life, paychecks, bills, loans, credit cards. But the mechanics are relentless. First, consider the power of compounding, though not in the way you've been taught in school. Compound interest works beautifully for money you own, like investments, not money you earn, like salaries. Your paycheck stops growing the moment you stop working. But assets grow whether you're awake or asleep. Stocks, real estate, businesses, they generate returns on top of returns. A $10,000 investment compounded over decades can become hundreds of thousands. Meanwhile, a $10,000 raise increases your income linearly. It doesn't multiply on its own. One grows, one barely keeps pace. Next is taxation. Governments don't tax assets the same way they tax labor. Earned income, your salary, is heavily taxed. Investments, often far less. Capital gains, dividends, and interest income enjoy lower rates. deferred taxes, and loopholes. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it creates a profound advantage for those who earn through ownership rather than hourly work. The system rewards wealth generation differently than wage earning. You work more hours. The wealthy make their money work harder. And then there's debt, the quiet force shaping lives. Salaries are tied to consumption. To maintain a standard of living, people take on mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards. Debt consumes your future earnings, turning potential wealth into obligation. Meanwhile, savvy investors use debt, differently leverage assets to acquire more assets. One group pays interest to survive. The other uses interest to grow. The math is the same, but the direction of the flow is completely opposite. Let's talk incentives. Employers reward productivity with pay, but rarely with ownership. The more time you spend at work, the less time you have to invest or build assets. Even high salaries often require trade-offs, long hours, stress, and the illusion of progress. It's ironic most people are working harder than ever to stay in place, while financial systems quietly funnel wealth toward those who understand the rules. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people miss. Wealth inequality isn't an accident. The system is structured to favor those with capital. That's why billionaires can grow their wealth exponentially while your salary grows at a linear pace, barely keeping up with inflation. The middle class works, consumes, and borrows, and in the end, most of it circles right back to the owners of the financial system. By now, you might feel a little queasy. This isn't just about budgeting or cutting expenses. It's about understanding that earning more doesn't change the rules. It's about realizing that the rules themselves are tilted, invisible, and almost impossibly hard to overcome if you rely solely on salary. So what's next? How do you actually play by these rules and not against them? That's where the hidden math, incentives, and financial mechanisms come into play. It's here that most people's assumptions collide with reality, and the numbers become brutally revealing. Let's get to the numbers, the part most people avoid. Imagine two people, Alex and Jordan. Both start working at 25. Alex focuses solely on salary, working hard, earning raises over the years. Jordan starts small but invests early stocks, real estate, small business ventures. By 40, Alex is earning a six-figure salary, living comfortably but owns very little. Jordan, on the other hand, has the same amount of effort invested but now owns assets that grow automatically. Compounding interest has quietly done its work, multiplying Jordan's wealth, while Alex's wealth has barely budged beyond a few savings accounts. The math is relentless. Time is the multiplier, and Alex traded it for linear gains while Jordan leveraged it for exponential growth. Here's another uncomfortable truth. The system rewards risk differently. Taking risks with salary, asking for a raise, negotiating a contract offers limited upside. Taking risks with assets, buying undervalued real estate, investing in a startup can create returns dozens of times greater. And yes, risk can fail, but the design of modern capitalism ensures that small, calculated risks with capital often produce far more wealth than decades of labor alone. Now consider the illusion of security. Salaries feel stable. Monthly paychecks provide comfort, predictability, and routine, but stability is deceptive. Inflation steadily erodes purchasing power. Housing costs, health care, education, they all rise faster than most salaries. In practical terms, even a good salary often buys less over time, keeping people perpetually at the mercy of economic forces beyond their control. Contrast this with assets. A rental property, for example, can generate income that grows with inflation. Stocks represent ownership in companies that increase revenue over time. Even as costs rise, these assets can outpace inflation. The system quietly rewards ownership while penalizing labor. It's an invisible shift, almost absurd in its subtlety. People equate effort with wealth, while the real growth happens elsewhere. Here's the irony. Society glorifies high salaries. CEOs professionals, influencers, they're celebrated. We aspire to earn more, believing that wealth will follow. Yet the very top earners often spend most of their income maintaining lifestyles that prevent them from accumulating true wealth. Meanwhile, true wealth quietly builds in assets, unseen and uncelebrated, compounding behind the curtain. And the deeper you look, the more absurd the pattern becomes. Policies, taxation, and financial instruments all nudge later toward consumption and away from ownership. Banks offer loans to buy houses, cars, and gadgets, but rarely loans for acquiring income-generating assets unless you already have significant collateral. The system funnels effort toward expenses while rewarding those who leverage capital. It's not conspiracy, it's incentive engineering. So here's the uncomfortable question. For decades, you've been taught that working harder and earn. ING more leads to wealth, but the system proves the opposite. Labor alone can't escape its constraints. Only ownership, early action, and understanding hidden incentives shift the odds. And yet, few ever teach this explicitly. Most are left chasing paychecks, unaware that time the only truly finite resource is slipping away one. The wealthy exploit it silently. By now, it's clear. Chasing a salary is like running on a treadmill. You move, you sweat, you expend effort, but you don't actually get anywhere. The illusion of progress is built into the system itself. And the more you earn, the faster the treadmill speeds up, keeping you in place. Now, let's take a wider perspective. This isn't just about individual choices. The same mechanics play out across the global economy. Entire nations rely on labor-driven growth, taxing wages to fund public and private systems. Meanwhile, wealth concentrates in the hands of those who understand, exploit, and own the underlying capital structures. The same principles that trap an individual worker operate at the scale of countries, companies, and markets. Patterns repeat. Systems reward ownership over labor. Effort is taxed. Time is finite. And the gap grows quietly but relentlessly. There's a cultural layer to this too. Society glorifies working hard, climbing corporate ladders, and earning promotions. It really glorifies patient asset building, early investments, or strategic risk-taking with capital. That creates a feedback loop, most P. People chase recognition and status through salary, never realizing that truly impactful wealth strategies lie elsewhere. The irony is almost absurd. The more visible your success, the less likely it is to translate into genuine financial independence. And yet, within this structure, there is one constant knowledge, an understanding how money flows, how capital compounds, and how incentives are aligned is more valuable than any raise, bonus, or title. Those who see it early can step off the treadmill or even redirect it, turning what seems like a trap into leverage. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need execution, timing, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truth that most of your peers will never question these rules. Here's the subtle, almost paradoxical insight. Wealth isn't about avoiding labor. It's about reallocating labor towards systems that work for you rather than against you. It's about recognizing that time is finite and that a paycheck is not an asset. It's a temporary exchange of time for money. Real wealth multiplies while you sleep. While life continues, salaries, by contrast, stop the moment you stop working. The contrast is stark, almost cruel in its clarity, yet entirely invisible to those who never analyze the mechanics. As we close, consider this. You could keep chasing raises, promotions, and overtime. You could continue believing that effort alone equals financial security. Or you could start seeing the hidden rules, how the system quietly incentivizes certain paths, punishes others, and always favors ownership. Understanding it doesn't guarantee escape, but ignorance ensures limitation. So ask yourself, for decades you've been taught to work harder, save more, and earn better. But if your salary will never make you rich, then where will real wealth come from? If time is the only finite resource, how will you use it before the treadmill runs out? The system may be invisible, but it is precise, relentless, and unforgiving. Your choice is simple, but the consequences are profound.